Welcome, and thank you for joining me tonight. Find a comfortable position, let the day slowly fade away, and allow yourself to simply listen. There is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be, and nothing expected of you except to relax. As our story unfolds, you can follow every detail, or simply let the sound of my voice carry you gently towards sleep. Now let's begin. What does it mean to be a nation? For America in the early 1800s, that question was far from settled. Just 13 years after winning independence, the young republic stretched across a vast and largely uncharted continent, full of promise, yet riddled with uncertainty. Expansion westward beckoned, fueled by dreams of fertile land and economic opportunity. But those ambitions would soon collide with deeply entrenched interests and simmering conflicts threatening to tear this fragile nation apart. Out on the frontier, life wasn't about dreams, it was about survival. Families struggled to carve out a living, facing harsh conditions and constant danger, and it often felt like they weren't just battling the wilderness. Many settlers whispered of attacks by Native American tribes, raids that left families devastated and farms burned to the ground. They came in the night, one farmer recalled, taking what wasn't ours. But who was behind these attacks? It wasn't always clear. The answer lay across the Atlantic, with Great Britain. Even after their defeat in the Revolutionary War, the British hadn't entirely abandoned their influence in North America. They continued to supply Native American tribes with weapons and ammunition, effectively encouraging resistance against American expansion. Maps from the period reveal a deliberate strategy. British agents, operating under various pretexts, fanned the flames of conflict along the frontier, hoping to destabilize the young nation. But British interference didn't stop at supplying arms. It extended to their Royal Navy's practice of impressment. What exactly was impressment? Simply put, it was the seizure of American sailors, deemed by Britain to be deserters from British ships, and forcing them into service. Imagine being pulled off your own vessel, branded a criminal, and subjected to the brutal discipline of the Royal Navy. The humiliation, the outrage, it was palpable. James Madison, then Secretary of State under Thomas Jefferson, desperately sought a peaceful resolution. He penned countless letters, passionate pleas for Britain to respect American neutrality and cease impressment. "The situation is most delicate," he wrote to Jefferson, "and the continuance of these aggressions renders war almost inevitable." Almost inevitable. The writing was on the wall. But could diplomacy truly avert disaster? Despite Madison's efforts, or perhaps because of them, British ships continued their provocations. They seized American merchant vessels, searching for supposed deserters and ignoring US claims to sovereignty on the high seas. Each incident was a slap in the face, further inflaming public opinion back home. How could America assert itself as an independent nation when its very right to exist on the ocean seemed constantly challenged? Then came the spark that ignited the powder keg, the Chesapeake Leopard affair. A British warship, the Leopard, fired upon and boarded the USS Chesapeake, seizing 4 American sailors. News of this brazen act reached Washington, D.C., unleashing a wave of outrage across the nation. Suddenly, even cautious Federalists were demanding action. The calls for war grew deafening. The debate in Congress was fierce, a clash of ideologies as much as policies. Some warned of economic ruin. A war with Britain would cripple American trade. Others, fueled by patriotic fervor, argued that national honor demanded a fight. "Are we to submit to this humiliation?" one congressman thundered. "Or are we to defend our rights?" The stakes were incredibly high. The future of the nation hung in the balance. Madison, recognizing the weight of the moment, delivered his war message to Congress, a somber but resolute declaration of grievances against Britain. He meticulously laid out the acts of aggression, the impressment, the seizures, the support for Native American tribes. "It is with melancholy acquiescence," he stated, "that I ask Congress to declare war," acknowledging the gravity of his request, but convinced it was a necessary evil. On June 18, 1812, the United States declared war on Great Britain, a momentous decision, one that would test America's fledgling republic to its limits. Could this young nation, still finding its footing in the world, truly stand up to the might of the British Empire? The answer would be forged on battlefields and at sea, in a conflict that would redefine what it meant to be an American. Early American ambitions to conquer Canada quickly met a harsh reality. The militia, farmers and shopkeepers mostly, simply weren't prepared for seasoned British regulars and Canadian volunteers. Their training was inadequate, their equipment often substandard. It wasn't a glorious start. Battles around Detroit were swiftly lost, highlighting the vast gulf in military experience. Imagine the humiliation, the sheer shock of General Hull surrendering Detroit without a fight. How could America's fledgling army just give up a major city? Contemporary accounts paint a picture of panic and disarray, soldiers fleeing, equipment abandoned, all due to a lack of confidence and a crumbling chain of command. It was a devastating blow both militarily and to national morale. What went wrong so spectacularly? Britain controlled the seas, and they weren't shy about using that power. A relentless naval blockade began strangling American commerce. Ships couldn't reach Europe. Goods couldn't get out. It wasn't just merchants suffering. Families along the Atlantic coast felt the pinch as prices soared and trade dried up. This economic pressure created widespread hardship and fueled resentment towards Britain. The Battle of Queenston Heights was another brutal lesson in just how tough this war would be. American forces attempted a crossing but faced fierce resistance and suffered heavy casualties. It wasn't just a defeat, it was costly. Tragically, the British commander Isaac Brock was killed in action. His loss felt keenly by both sides, marking him as a hero of the conflict. How would Britain react to this aggressive early push? But there were moments of American triumph too. The clash between USS Constitution, nicknamed Old Ironsides, and HMS Guerriere was a watershed moment. After enduring heavy fire, the Constitution unleashed its devastating broadsides and crippled the British ship. It was a decisive victory that sent shockwaves across the Atlantic. Suddenly, Britain wasn't invincible. Morale in America got a much-needed boost. Britain, understandably angered by American aggression, decided to strike back, and they chose a symbolic target. Washington, D.C. A British raiding party sailed up the Chesapeake Bay, landing troops who marched on the Capitol. It was a humiliating blow. Public buildings, including the Capitol and White House, were set ablaze. How could America's government be so easily defeated? Amidst the chaos of the burning Capitol, one woman stood out, Dolly Madison. While others fled, she remained behind, organizing the evacuation of crucial documents and irreplaceable artifacts from the White House. Her courage and resourcefulness in preserving these symbols of American heritage are legendary, a testament to her character during a moment of national crisis. Far from Washington, frustration was building in the West. Andrew Jackson, a fiery and ambitious general, was growing impatient with the slow pace of the war. He knew British incursions from Canada posed a serious threat to the Northwest Territory. So he began mobilizing his forces, preparing for a showdown that would define the conflict's outcome in that region. The Battle of Thames proved to be a pivotal yet tragic moment. Tecumseh, the brilliant Shawnee leader who had united numerous tribes, fell in battle fighting alongside the British. His death crippled Native American resistance against American expansion and significantly hampered Britain's war efforts in the Northwest Territory. It was a devastating loss for both sides. Then came Perry's victory on Lake Erie, a stunning triumph for the American Navy. By seizing control of the lake, he effectively cut off British supply lines and opened up a new front in the war, a crucial turning point. But how would this strategic advantage ultimately shape the course of the conflict? The echoes of Tippecanoe resonated across the nation. It wasn't just a victory, it was Andrew Jackson's arrival on the scene. He had faced Native American warriors, and crucially he forged troops in that fierce crucible, men who knew how to fight, and even more importantly, how to follow him. This experience would prove invaluable when the British arrived on American shores. The British weren't seeking glory, but control, specifically the Chesapeake Bay. They launched an invasion force up the Patuxent River, heading straight for Washington, D.C. It seemed a simple sweep, until American militia proved surprisingly stubborn. Could these citizen soldiers truly hold back a seasoned army? The answer arrived in a hail of musket fire and unexpected resistance. Baltimore was next, and the British fleet unleashed a relentless bombardment on Fort McHenry. Hours of cannon fire shook the city, but the fort held firm. What became of this pivotal moment? As dawn broke amidst the smoke and chaos, Francis Scott Key witnessed an incredible sight, the American flag still flying proudly, inspiring him to write what would become our national anthem. Jackson knew he needed an army, a force unlike any America had seen before. He gathered free men, enslaved people promised freedom for their service, Cherokee warriors, even pirates. It was a ragtag group, but Jackson's ability to inspire them and his unorthodox tactics gave him a fighting chance. Could this diverse force truly stand against the disciplined ranks of the British? News traveled slowly back then, agonizingly so. When Jackson and his troops marched to New Orleans, they were fighting a battle already rendered obsolete. The peace treaty had been signed months earlier, yet no one in America knew it. He crushed the British with stunning force. But what did this victory truly mean? A glorious triumph or an echo of a forgotten war? The celebrations in New Orleans were ecstatic, deafening, but whispers started to surface. Unsettling questions arose. How could this victory be so decisive if peace had already been declared? Could there have been a misunderstanding, a delay? The joy began to mix with an uncomfortable sense of unease. Letters arrived from Europe, weeks delayed, frustratingly vague. Government officials frantically pieced together the timeline, realizing just how slow news traveled across the Atlantic. The realization dawned. New Orleans was a forgotten victory, a moment of glory lost in time, and a testament to both the vastness of an ocean and the limitations of communication. It wasn't negligence. No one intentionally withheld information. The problem was simply the technology of the time. Sailing ships were the only way to carry news, and weather, storms, and unpredictable currents could easily add weeks or even months to the journey. Conflicting reports added to the confusion. The delayed news created a political firestorm in Washington. President Madison faced accusations of incompetence. Why hadn't he informed Jackson sooner? Questions arose about the war's overall handling and the administration's leadership. Was this victory truly worth the price of so much uncertainty and political fallout? "I've won a victory for America," Jackson declared. He was emboldened, undeniably popular, and increasingly unwilling to follow Washington's lead. The hero of New Orleans was challenging the authority of the president himself. And that's when a new kind of battle began. The victory at Horseshoe Bend felt complicated. Jackson's methods were bold, some would say reckless. He'd acted decisively, bypassing superiors and asserting authority without hesitation. During a tense meeting with President Monroe, the air crackled. "I am not accustomed to being contradicted," Jackson reportedly said. Yes, a blunt statement. It was a challenge to presidential power. Was this ambition or defiance? It was certainly a glimpse of a man unwilling to be contained. News travels fast, especially news as startling as Jackson's insubordination. Whispers spread to London, across the Atlantic. Could this be a sign of something larger, a nascent rebellion brewing within the newly formed United States? British intelligence officers quietly assessed the situation, wondering if America's internal divisions might offer an opportunity for leverage. The potential for instability was suddenly very real. After years of bitter fighting, after so much loss, the war was officially over. The Treaty of Ghent, painstakingly negotiated, debated, and finally signed, made its way to Washington. And now, the moment of truth. Would the US Senate ratify it? After a tense period of deliberation, they did. A collective sigh of relief swept across the nation, but with the treaty came another question. What next? The treaty was signed, yes. But Jackson wasn't leaving New Orleans, not yet. He insisted on maintaining order, overseeing troop withdrawals and ensuring a smooth transition back to civilian life. And he basked in the adoration of the public. His reputation as a hero had only grown stronger. It was clear. Andrew Jackson wasn't about to simply fade into the background. Madison knew he couldn't ignore it any longer. The political fallout from Jackson's actions was becoming too dangerous. Reluctantly, he issued the order. Jackson had to stand down. A decision that sent shockwaves through his supporters. Outrage erupted in Tennessee and Kentucky. Loyal citizens felt betrayed. Madison found himself caught between a rebellious general and the delicate balance of national power. The war's disruption actually spurred something unexpected. American industry. A save. With European trade lines disrupted, manufacturers were forced to innovate, producing everything from textiles to iron goods. It was a painful necessity, but one that laid the groundwork for economic independence. Suddenly, America wasn't just reliant on imports, it could produce its own. Beyond economics, something else shifted, a sense of national identity. The War of 1812 wasn't about conquering territory, it was about defending what they already had. Despite ongoing divisions, North versus South, East versus West, a shared experience forged a stronger bond. A feeling of us emerged. An American spirit. For Native American tribes, the war's end brought little respite. The westward expansion continued unabated. Treaties were broken and lands seized. Tecumseh's vision of a united Confederacy had crumbled with his death at the Battle of Thames. Their struggle for survival, for their very sovereignty, was far from over. Despite the clashes with Madison, Jackson's popularity remained remarkably high. He was seen as a symbol of strength, a champion of the common man. Rumors began to circulate. Could he be a contender for president? A question whispered in taverns and debated in newspapers. Would America embrace this unconventional hero? The War of 1812, a messy, costly conflict, but transformative nonetheless. It solidified America's independence, spurred economic growth, and ignited a nascent national identity. But it also left lingering questions about ambition, leadership, and the very nature of power. How would this young nation navigate these complex currents? Only time would tell.